Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI, is known for reshaping industries through bold risks and futuristic vision. In this message, his image symbolizes disruption, awakening, and a call to clarity. His real-world focus on building against the odds mirrors the spiritual breakthrough you're being summoned into. Chosen ones, listen closely. This message did not find you by chance. Deep inside your soul, you've been pleading for clarity, strength, and answers. Heaven has heard. That giant looming over you isn't proof of your weakness. It's evidence of your inner greatness. God is taller than your Goliath. It stands for the completeness of God, declaring it is your way of believing that the behemoth in front of you is going to collapse. And the God who summoned you is now more powerful. Not everyone will read this message all the way through. Only those who are really selected. Those who remain will acquire bravery, discernment, and prophetic insight into the conflict they are engaged in and the predetermined triumph. You don't hear this term once and then ignore it. This is an ongoing revelation, a spiritual blueprint that is gradually coming to life. Every time you listen to it, a fresh layer of spiritual truth and power will surface inside you. So return to it anytime your soul stirs. Let's take a closer look. First chapter. Your giant was already known to God. Selected 1. God was not surprised by the behemoth in front of you. He has never been surprised by anything in your life. The financial hardship, the rejection, the sleepless nights, the mental struggles, and even the unexpected betrayals. All of them were seen by God before you. He has already accounted for this difficulty in your destiny long before you ever encountered it. His blueprint for your breakthrough already includes what you see as an impediment. We are reminded in Psalm 139 verse 16 that all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. This specifically refers to the present moment you are in at this very now. Your triumph was already written, along with the struggle, the stress, and the anxiety. This isn't arbitrary. It's a wonderful tactic. It didn't seem like the big stopped you. It seemed to validate what God had already implanted inside you. Consider David. He was already anointed before he ever faced Goliath. Heaven had proclaimed him king before the populace even knew his name. Thus, David did not start with the giant. It was only the platform via which God made visible what was already inside him. This also applies to you. Even though you may feel invisible, unnoticed, and undervalued, Heaven has already given you the victory stamp. Your giant could seem tall. It may make a loud roar. It can attempt to immobilize you with terror. But pay attention to this fact. No circumstance, no giant, and no opponent are bigger than God's purpose. To him, what seems insurmountable to you is little. God saw Goliath as only a setup, but the Israeli soldiers found him scary. The strength of the one who is within you is greater than the magnitude of the adversary. Your gigantic cannot overrule what heaven has already decided. Chosen one. You are not brought this far by God to be abandoned. He planned the triumph if he was aware of this conflict. You can tell you're on the brink of elevation just by looking at this mammoth. David would not exist if Goliath did not exist. There would be no breakthrough if there was no conflict. Keep in mind that although your win was documented, your giant was recognized. In reality, what seems to be the end is a miraculous beginning. What seems to be a threat is going to turn into your testimony. The opponent wants you to believe that you are being attacked, but in fact, you are being announced. Your narrative does not finish with the behemoth in front of you. God is using it as a platform to show you the strength, authority, and destiny he has already given you. So raise your head, selected one. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. It's more than simply a battle. It's affirmative. You were intended to win this. You were prepared for this. And you were selected for this. Your God is greater than your Goliath. And heaven has already written the last word. You ascend as the behemoth collapses. Chapter 2. The giant is an announcement from God. The narrative of David did not finish with the appearance of Goliath. He seemed to announce him. You must fully understand this fact, chosen one. It's not a curse that the behemoth is in your way. It's a confirmation. David was only a shepherd child before Goliath, caring for sheep in the dark, unappreciated and undervalued. However, he was the warrior, the leader, and ultimately the ruler that Israel needed after Goliath. His giant was standing in front of him, revealing his fate. The platform for David's reveal would not have existed in the absence of Goliath. And your giant isn't here to bury you, either. To broadcast you, it is here. The precise thing that will cause your name to reverberate in areas you have never been is the same impediment that appears insurmountable. Your healing testimony will be that health scare. That financial difficulty will turn into your tale of miraculous support. That pain will give rise to your resilient and compassionate ministry. Your defeat is not defined by the presence of giants in your life. They are there to determine your fate. Examine David's narrative in detail. Goliath mocked and heightened the terror of Israel's soldiers for 40 days. Everybody else saw an insurmountable issue. However, David recognized a chance to display God's glory. Israel need more than one combatant. They need a person with faith, someone who has previously received training in the secret, peaceful areas. It wasn't really Israel's issue with Goliath. David's platform was him. And it wasn't simply a personal victory for David when he used his sling to bring down the Goliath. It changed a whole country's destiny. Your fight is greater than yourself, chosen one. It feels so heavy because of this. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Why it seems so overwhelming. Why it seems like too lot to bear alone. Your success isn't only for your own survival. It is for the benefit of all those involved in your task. Your capacity to confront this behemoth will affect your town, your family, your kids, and even future generations. You can't give up because of this. You're unable to run because of it. This behemoth is a sign that your destiny is ready to come to life. The bigger the announcement, the taller the behemoth. The more loudly the issue roars. Your triumph will make God's praise more audible. In reality, what seems to be opposition is the spirit realm's acknowledgement that you are next. You are entering something enormous. Your calling is unique, which is why the resistance seems out of the ordinary. Your crown will be hefty, which is why your fight seems heavy. Don't hate the behemoth in front of you. See it instead as a heavenly stage, which is what it really is. Your giant is not the end of you, chosen one. Heaven is using your circumstances as a microphone to announce to the world, this one is chosen. This one has been anointed. This one is stepping into destiny. This is your announcement. Everyone will see that it was never about your strength when it falls. It has to do with the power of God acting through you. Your broadcast is your struggle. The focus is on your battle, and your triumph will resound as indisputable evidence that God has always selected you. Chapter 3. God prepares in private before disclosing in public. David wasn't unprepared when he entered the fight. He wasn't just a young, unskilled lad who happened to meet Goliath. No, before David ever confronted the Goliath, he had been formed in fire. God had already seen a warrior in training, but the world had only seen a shepherd kid. David used just bravery, faith, and a sling to battle lions and bears in the countryside, away from the limelight. No one applauded him. There were no songs written about him. No one even knew the struggles he was going through. Heaven, however, was aware. Selected one. The same is true for you. You wept yourself to sleep on those evenings. It was training. You fought those wars in silence. The failures, the betrayal, the heartache, and the melancholy. Your lions and bears were those. They were essentially preparation, even if you believe they were penalties. Your destiny was nourished by each tear you cried. Each scar served as proof that you lived through the intended death. You are more dangerous to the kingdom of evil than you think because of those unseen conflicts that honed your soul and improved your judgment. God works most effectively in the shadows. He refines before revealing. He prepares before promoting. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. He takes you through a procedure before placing you on a stage. The forest, the solitude, the seasons when no one paid you any attention. Those years weren't squandered. The years were essential. God put your character to the test there, strengthened your fortitude, and gave you insight that no school could ever provide. Only his internal triumphs allowed David to win on the battlefield. And only because of the fights you have previously won in secret will you be able to make your breakthrough in public. Consider it. David was not trained in Saul's armor. Therefore, he was unable to utilize it to battle Goliath. He didn't need what the world considered essential. What God had taught him in the fields was what he needed. He made use of what he had, what he understood, and what the hidden location had previously shown. The same is true for you, chosen one. You don't have to wish you had what other people have or compare yourself to them. Your giant will be brought down by the same things that God has given you, the experiences, lessons, and talents. You were really developing yourself throughout each season that you believed was ending. You learned to trust God more as a result of that betrayal. You learned to rely on him when everything else fails from that loss. You learned from that rejection that his approval is sufficient. Your experiences will not be in vain. All of it has been used by God to get you ready for this. Now realize this. It won't be to flaunt your might when God eventually reveals you. It will be about using your tail to show off his grandeur. You can quiet the giant in public by using the same techniques you learn in private. When everyone is looking, the sling you trained with in private will be the weapon that helps you win. People won't realize the whole cost of your training until they see you stride into the light with power, but heaven will. You couldn't skip the procedure since you had to choose one. God concealed you when you want to be seen for this reason. He let you battle with things that others didn't have to deal with because of this. Because he understood that you wouldn't only have to deal with your own enormous one day. The way you overcame, it will motivate a whole generation and a whole country. Chapter 4. The giant seems larger than he really is out of fear. The Israeli army froze as Goliath entered the battlefield. When big men, skilled soldiers, and seasoned combatants saw him, they instantly lost heart. They were intimidated into quiet by his voice, stature, and armor. Goliath taunted them day after day, and they retreated in terror each time. Then David arrived. David's view was different, yet he saw the same Goliath. David saw a chance to display God's glory where others saw an insurmountable foe. Perspective distinguishes the loyal from the terrified in this chosen one. The issue is exacerbated by fear. Fear makes the enemy's voice louder until it overpowers God's promises. Before the fight even starts, fear makes you believe that it is already lost. However, faith reveals the truth. When you have faith, you start to see your God's magnificence instead of the giant size. Your giant could roar. He can seem towering, menacing, and unyielding. He could brandish weapons that seem more powerful than you are. But your gigantic is nothing in comparison to your God. According to Isaiah 40 verse 22, the nations are like grasshoppers in comparison to God, who is seated above the earth's circle. What is one giant if countries are like grasshoppers? Fear paralyzes. When God is urging you to go ahead, it keeps you still. It keeps you caught up in loops of indecision, anxiety, and self-doubt. It makes you focus on the things that are against you rather than the things that are in your favor. However, faith is what drives. When everything tells you to remain put, faith pushes you to go. You rush toward the giant while everyone else is fleeing because of faith. When the world says you need armor and a sword, faith gives you the strength to take up a sling and stones. You must realize, chosen one, that the giant will always look larger than he really is out of fear. The opposition uses intimidation to its advantage. He yells for that reason. He threatens because of this. He attempts to bombard you with falsehoods because of this. He can keep you tied if he can keep you scared. However, dread becomes less powerful if you change your perspective and begin to emphasize the magnitude of your God rather than your issue. Keep in mind that David acknowledged Goliath's size. He didn't act as if the conflict didn't exist. However, he resisted allowing fear to skew reality. He said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17, verse 37. Instead of measuring Goliath against himself, David did so against his God. And your viewpoint changes when you follow suit. Stop practicing the enemy's falsehoods, chosen one. Give up using what-if scenarios to stoke your worry. Rather, begin announcing God's promises. Begin to exalt the Lord in your worship, your words, and your faith. Because the huge becomes smaller when God is exalted. The dread goes away when you elevate him. Your bravery increases when you trust him. Faith is a motivator, while fear paralyzes. And what will lead you to victory is trust, not fear. It's not your war. The Lord owns it. No matter how tall or loud your monster seems, your God is taller. Therefore, take a courageous step forward. Chapter 5. Their sword is inferior than your sling. Saul attempted to outfit David with armor as he entered combat. It had a striking appearance. It seemed to be appropriate clothing for a warrior. David knew it didn't fit, however. It wasn't his. Something that wasn't made for him was incompatible with his fighting style. He decided to use a stone and a sling, which God had previously used to instruct him. It seemed feeble to males. It seems ridiculous to Goliath. However, it became a weapon of fate when it was in the hands of chosen one. Select one. Pay close attention to this. To win your struggle, you don't have to imitate anybody else. Their platform, their voice, their armor, and their approval are not necessary for you. You already have plenty of what God put inside you. He carefully selected your abilities, skills, perseverance, faith, and vision to be the specific weapons that would vanquish your giant. Give up comparing your path to that of others. Although Saul's armor may seem more robust, it was never intended for you. The adversary wants you to think that the things you are carrying are too little, too commonplace, and too unimportant. In God's hands, however, what is common is exceptional. Recall that God parted the Red Sea with Moses' little rod. To preserve her family, God doubled the widow's little supply of oil. All David had was a sling, but God used it to change a country and bring down a Goliath. It's not about your wealth. Whose hands it is in is the issue. Your sling has heavenly power, even if it isn't a weapon of war. It may be your voice, the way you give people hope when they're feeling down. It might be your fortitude, the way you remain upright while others have collapsed. It may be your imagination or the inspiration God gives you to write, construct, or produce something that has never been seen before. It might be your prayer life, the way you fight invisible wars while on your knees, or the way you change whole environments with your words. Don't hate your sling, chosen one. Don't consider the things you carry to be insignificant. Don't allow the opponent to persuade you that in order to succeed, you must have what others have. Because it is specifically made to defeat your Goliath, God purposefully gave you what you have. Saul's sword was unnecessary for David. Israel's army was not necessary for him. All he needed was what God had already taught him. Additionally, you just need what God has given you. You can feel ignored, undervalued, or outnumbered. Heaven, however, is aware of the reality. Their sword is inferior than your sling. Keep this in mind. God deems mighty what man labels feeble. God calls things smart, while the world deems them silly. The sling was more than a tool. It was a task. Like you, it was picked for this very time. And the giant is unable to stand in the hands of the selected. Select one, then raise your sling. Make use of what you have. Enter the fight with the knowledge that your abilities, perseverance, faith, and prayers are more potent than any weapon used against you. The world may laugh, but they will realize that your burden was always larger when the giant falls. Chapter 6. Your triumph is not only for you. David's victory against Goliath was more than simply his own. It was a milestone for Israel. Suddenly, the same troops who had been immobilized by dread showed resilience. Those who had doubts now had faith. The triumph of a single young shepherd changed the mood of a whole country. This is the reality of your war, chosen one. You are never the exclusive focus. God knew that your triumph would set others free, so he trusted you with this behemoth. For those who are related to you, your breakthrough is a key that will unleash shackles. Someone else will be encouraged to think that their illness is not the end by your recovery. Another person will be reminded by your financial success that God can provide a path where none seems to exist. Someone else will see that they, too, can emerge from the ashes of betrayal if you have the fortitude to stand after rejection. They win when you win. They stand when you do. They come back stronger than ever as you stride toward triumph. The enemy's battled you so fiercely because of this. He was aware that others would also discover freedom if you were ever free. He was aware that saying yes to God would have an impact on generations you may never meet, as well as your family and community. That explains why your gigantic seems so menacing, because its collapse will have an impact on many people's lives, not just yours. Don't ever believe that your suffering, your tears, and your hardships were in vain. Chosen one. Every covert conflict served to strengthen a witness. And when you testify, people will understand that fate may rise, fear can shatter, and giants can fall. What you are carrying is generational, not just personal. It's possible that your family is waiting for you to overcome what they were unable to. Because you dared to stand on your faith today, your children and grandkids may one day live in freedom. Your experience could inspire bravery in your friends, neighbors, or even complete strangers. You were selected by God to be the means of triumph, not to brag, but to serve as a live example of his might. Goliath wasn't merely killed by David. He changed the mood of a country. You will too. Those who watch will tear off their shackles when your behemoth falls. Those who were previously scared will become courageous. People's lives will alter. Faith will be rekindled and hope restored. All because you chose to confront what others feared. This titan is collapsing, chosen one. Not for you alone. Falling in love with your family is it. Your neighborhood is falling for it. Because you choose to fight, it will fall for generations to come, who will walk in freedom. Chapter 7. God is rising in you as the behemoth is collapsing. Listen to this, chosen one, and let it to burn into your soul. Your God is eternal, but your giant is transient. Although they scream loudly, giants' voices wane. Giants are strong, but they will eventually fall. In heaven's perspective, your triumph was predetermined long before the war started. Even if you may feel the weight of the conflict weighing down on you right now as the Almighty's might builds, God is not surprised by anything. What he has already written in his divine screenplay for your life cannot be undone. It was more than simply bravery as David grabbed for the stone. It was a living prophecy, because God himself was going to show off his might. Not because of David's strength, the whole battlefield came to a halt. And the same is true in your life. It is the Lord's struggle, not yours. Your faith, your stone, and your sling are only containers. God's hand directing your every action, every word, and every step is where the true power lies. Know this. Even now, your behemoth is crumbling. You are experiencing the descent is more difficult for larger giants, and it will be loud enough to reverberate across centuries this autumn. What seemed to be a danger is now becoming a throne. God is really uplifting you with the exact thing that was meant to pull you down. David was not destroyed by Goliath. David's announcement was him. The same is true for you. This behemoth is here to broadcast you, not to bury you. What seemed to be a conclusion is really the start of something entirely new. Be proud, selected one. You're not going into this fight by yourself. Heaven is on your side. Angels are all around you. And like an unquenchable fire, the Spirit of the living God is surging inside you. Your foundation is unshakable because it is built on the rock of centuries, even when the ground under your feet may seem wobbly. Cowering was not required upon you. Your mission was to conquer. Keep this in mind, chosen one. Even if your giant is tall, your God is taller. In the natural, Goliath was taller than David. But because of the God who was with him, David loomed above him in the spirit world. And that same God is with you today. In you, he is rising. He is fighting for you and speaking through you. It is not a question of whether you will win. The only question is when. The behemoth is going down. The fear is subsiding. Cycles of failure are breaking. They are demolishing strongholds that have been in your family for generations. The enchantment that attempted to keep you quiet has been lifted. It's not just a fight right now. There is a change in generations. The triumph that God is delivering through your obedience today will benefit your children, your family, your neighborhood, and many others who are linked to you. Now is your chance to rise. Therefore, take a brave step forward, chosen one. You may soon be the subject of testimony from the battlefield that once frightened you. What was intended to be a site of defeat will end up becoming the location of your coronation. In addition to seeing your monster collapse, you will surpass it and soar to greater heights than before. This is not just the conclusion of a battle. Therefore, raise your head high, square your shoulders, and boldly proclaim, "The giant is falling, and my God is rising in me." A new chapter in your destiny is about to begin. No force on earth or in hell can stop it, since it has been declared by heaven. The behemoth is going down. God is coming back to life, and the person you have selected is entering the whole of your heavenly mission.